You are listening to the Colts Report with Will Rutherford and Sam Frick, who was a little under the weather, so couldn't join us today, and guest Grant Shouse, their reaction to the Colts' 41-20 win over the Tennessee Titans and their 3-0 start. We'll go deeper into the win, review the film, and have grades for all the units, all the players, the coaches, everything on Wednesday's Colts Report, and then we'll be back on Friday for a Colts-Rams preview, big game in Los Angeles next Sunday. Thanks for listening. This is a good one.
You're listening to the Colts Report. Reaction to the Colts' 41-20 win over the Titans. With Will Rutherford and Grant Shouse. And here's your host, Greg Mingelt.
Welcome, Colts fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report. For our Colts Report, our reaction to the Colts' 41-20 win over the Titans. Well, I don't think we need to spend too much time on this game as it is, but in general is what I'd probably like to talk about more, and they just keep passing every test.
This was a huge test for them. These are games that this Colts organization has lost the past 5 years, and they found a way to get the job done this evening, I guess this afternoon in Nashville. They just an excellent team performance. Started off with the pick six that set the tone early, and they just took off running from there on.
37 yards on the ground, 228 yards through the air. They could have done a lot more than that if they hadn't gotten conservative when they had a big lead. And then they hold Tennessee to, under 300 yards, despite the fact that they were playing from behind the whole game, and another really good performance.
Yeah, I thought that they basically the entire fourth quarter, they let off the gas. I mean, the Titans held possession, I think, for the first 8 minutes in the fourth quarter. Your numbers aren't going to look great. The Colts they had the game won after that first possession after halftime and just never looked back. What a great performance for a game that they absolutely have to win to be considered a playoff contender.
And now we bring in Grant Shouse, our IU guy. Of course, Grant also of the Action Sports Network, to talk about the Colts' 41-20 win over Tennessee. And Grant, as I told Will coming into the game, I don't necessarily want to talk about this one as much as just 3 games, 3 really impressive performances, and it's hard to believe, but this team is 3-0 and looking as good as anybody. Well, minus Buffalo and Baltimore, but almost as good as anybody in the NFL.
When you think about it in the past years with the Colts, is that they have really struggled effort-wise in divisional games. They maybe once a year would sneak out a big divisional win, but other than that, they in the last few years have not looked really good in those divisional games. And I know they talked about with Manning and all that when they had him back in the day, is that the most important games to them were to win the division games. So to see the Colts come out and do what they did and dominate to start the game, of course, they had the wide open pick six to begin the game. That was that was the first punch thrown, and it was a huge blow. It wasn't the knockout blow. I came in there on the tail end when Will said that the game was pretty much decided on the first touchdown in the second half. He's right. That kind of was the knockout blow a little bit. And the Titans are just they have so much to figure out. They have such a young team. You have a rookie quarterback. I expect them to get it figured out and hopefully be competitive. But it's a really good sign to see the Colts go on the road in their first road game and kind of dominate almost from start to finish and win the game. And now you're one step closer to winning the division. And that's crucial because you got to make the playoffs this year. This is almost a do or die year for the Colts in terms of they got to have a really good year. And they're off to a really good start. 3-0 for the first time since 2009. And they started that year 14-0. So a lot of good things that we've seen in the first 3 weeks, but the Colts got a lot of work to do.
And they scored on 7 of their 8 drives again this week.
Yeah, they did. They They finished drives off well. I do think that there were early in the second quarter, you would have liked to see a couple of those field goals be touchdowns, but I don't think you can complain about a 41-point performance, 34 of which came via the offense, 7 courtesy of Kenny Moore with his interception. Overall, you just got to love the offense. I thought it was creative. I thought they did a good job of getting the ball in their skill players' hands. I still would like to see Tyler Warren be used more. They used him great as a blocker. He looked really good and comfortable as a blocker today. He's taking steps forward there, but I still would like to see him get the ball more than he's getting it. That's my only complaint of the offense.
Yeah, definitely today.
I'm curious, are you guys pleased with Daniel Jones? Or maybe not pleased is what I'm asking, but surprised about his start?
I would say that I'm not really surprised. He's been better than I thought, for sure. But I think he's been better than anybody thought, just based on his expectation. But I expected him to be kind of this version of himself, just a game manager that gets the ball in the playmaker's hands and lets him work. I mean, the Colts playmaking core, as far as their receivers, running backs, and tight ends, look really good. And I know that they've played some down competition. They've played 2 of their 3 games against teams that are going to be fighting for the number 1 seed, but still they're beating those teams badly, which is what you're supposed to do. You can't not control your schedule. You just got to control the teams that go out, and this is still professional football. They've got to work for wins. But I think so far, Daniel Jones has exceeded every expectation and looks really solid as the Colts quarterback.
I was just going to say that I kind of trust him through these first 3 games to go out there and put together a good drive and come out with points. Like today was the first day they've punted the ball in 3 weeks, which is just, I mean, that's incredible to think about. And it's something that you don't really think about until your team does it, until you see a team do it where they don't punt the ball in the first 2 games of the year until the second quarter of week 3, they don't punt the ball. That is just an impressive feat. And their ability to put points up on the board every time they have the ball, or almost every time they have the ball, is something that we haven't even seen from teams like Buffalo and Baltimore. And you'll see from Philly or Kansas City later on when they start to get it figured out. So it's just really cool to see the Indianapolis Colts. We're talking about the Indianapolis Colts that are achieving a rare feat.
It's hard to complain about anything right now. Grant Shouse, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. And we will talk more IU with Grant after yesterday's 63-10 win over Illinois on Tuesday. Thanks, Grant.
Yep, thanks for the opportunity, Greg. I really enjoy it.
I think that so far, they've definitely been the surprise of the year. I think league-wide, I'm not shocked as a Colts fan. I mean, I know that we were high on the record of saying that we didn't like the move, and we look like jackasses right now with how good Daniel Jones has been. Yeah. I think you have to trust your eyes when you're evaluating, like, is he a franchise quarterback? And thus far up to these last 3 games, who are you swapping him for right now, the way he's running this offense? I know that you may not want him to be your franchise quarterback, but he's effectively running this offense very well. Like, you cannot take that away from him.
Again, he's good enough to become your franchise quarterback. And I told you that at the beginning of the year. His ceiling was a top 10 quarterback. And then we're going to be stuck with a guy who is pretty good and not good enough to win you any championships. That's my fear. But he has a big chance to prove me wrong next Sunday because they go to LA to face the Rams, by far their biggest test of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Broncos game was a big test just as far as how that defense looked offensively. I think this Rams defense will also be a tough test. I think if they can go and play well in LA, you have to really sit back and evaluate, okay, Daniel Jones might just be the perfect quarterback for Shane Steichen's system. Or, I mean, there's plenty of tape on Daniel Jones. It's not like he's some rookie that's doing this. It's a flash in the pan. I mean, this is a guy that's put 6 seasons of NFL tape together. And for whatever reason, Steichen has been able to mask all of his weaknesses and basically display all of his strengths. And I think his leadership, I think the players have rallied behind him. And as I said, their playmakers are good enough that I don't think the pressure has to be on Daniel Jones because they just have enough skill everywhere to be really hard to stop. You've got 4 receivers, all of which could go for 100 yards in a day. and you wouldn't be
Right.
surprised to see it at any point. You have a tight end who you think is a joker and a complete game changer. You've been on the record saying you think he's going to be an all-time great tight end. You have an all NFL running back. You have all of the playmakers there for him to be successful. So don't be surprised. This team was designed for just even average quarterback play to make them a lot better. And so far, he's given that and way more.
And the Rams are going to be stinging.
That's definitely going to be a team that's going to come out with a vendetta. And I honestly, I like that, I think, for the Colts, because I think they're going to be challenged in a way they probably have not competitively been challenged yet this season. I mean, that Dolphins game was over in the first quarter. This Titans game was effectively over in the first quarter, too. I mean, we can sit here and say that drive after halftime, but the Titans were not beating the Colts. There was no chance that it happened. You could just tell. And, I mean, that Broncos game was a great win. You know, they benefited from a call that definitely fell in their favor and allowed them to win a game that they had lost. So you're going to figure out what a Sean McVay offense looks for this defense, which I'm still a little questionable on. The defense gets a little loosey-goosey at times. I don't love that, but they also look pretty good too. So I'm okay with giving up fourth quarter garbage time touchdowns. I'd rather give that up than a player get injured that's going to affect the rest of the year.
That is correct. All right, well, 3 games in, Shane Steichen has had the Colts ready to play in 3 straight games, 3 completely different situations. Pretty impressive.
I thought today was a complete trap game for this Colts team. This is a game that they lose. This is a game that they lose time and time again and have really since Peyton Manning left. I mean, we can sit here and talk about it.
And then came back at the end of the podcast and switched to the Colts.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did.
Had questions.
This is a trap game. The Titans really hadn't played necessarily that awful the first few weeks. I think that defense is still a lot better than people will give it credit for.
Right.
You know, they ran into a tough offense. They got put in a few tough spots too, with short fields, with missed field goals and such. But I mean, that Titans team is they're still a professional football team. You still have to go out and beat them. I'm a little worried. You know, I watched that Jacksonville and Houston game, and Mike Hutzel's talking about them throwing shit at each other. But those are 2 really good defenses in the division too. That you're going to have to win. You need to win 3 or 4 against those teams, or at least go 2-2 and split them one way or another and beat the Titans both times. So they've got tough tests ahead. They do have a tough schedule, but it's great that they've given themselves a buffer. They're 3-0. They've given themselves a buffer to, I don't want to say lose games, but they can lose a game and it doesn't kill them. They're not playing on eggshells the entire time. Houston and Tennessee, it's really hard for an 0-3 team to come back and make the playoffs, just statistically. The Texans play a number 1 schedule this year as well. So, I mean, not only are they playing 2 tough divisions outside of the AFC South, but they're also playing every other division's number 1 playoff teams, essentially, is who they're playing. So it's going to be a tough road for them.
A lot more. I just don't think Houston has the weapons.
So far, there's no question the Colts look like the best team in this division, bar none. They look way better than both the Jags and the Texans largely have up to this point.
I think the Jags will look pretty good. They're a couple plays away from if Brian Thomas Jr. could catch the ball, and if they just don't make dumb plays. I am concerned about Jacksonville. I
still think we obviously both picked them to win the division without question. Their defense looks much improved, which is an area of concern, because if their offense is just good enough, I think that they will be good enough. They've got a lot of talent on that offense, but I think this Colts team has a ton of talent too. I like this Colts team, I think, against anybody in the division. We'll see. The next real test is
no more division games till the end of October, by the way.
I know, which is crazy to actually sit and think about, because it would be nice to maybe get a Houston game here and not have all your division games bunched up in the last 10 weeks of the season. I don't love that, but it's the schedule that's made, and you got to go out and win against the team that is in front of you. They need to go win in LA. They need to. I don't have their schedule pulled up right this second. Those are 2
Raiders
games,
and Cardinals,
both of which they'll be favorites in that game. Both of those games probably by more than a field goal, I would imagine. I would imagine they'll probably be close to a touchdown favorite in both of those games.
And then back to LA for the Chargers, then home to the Titans again. So 3 games that they're definitely going to be favored in their next 5. So 6-2 would be what you would expect. And that's a great start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think even 5-3, you feel pretty good at 5-3. 6-2, you feel great. 6-2, you feel like, wow, this team can win this division without question. They just need to continue to play really efficient offensively, let their defense do enough. I mean, the Titans still controlled the ball for more than half the game. I mean, the Colts did not even win the possession battle, and the Colts still won by 3 touchdowns. How often does that happen?
Well done, Will, doing a podcast while clearly under attack, and clearly you're fending off some attackers while podcasting. So.
It's been tough.
Well, but you've done a great job anyway.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We will be talking more Colts later this week on the Colts Report, and then, of course, we will preview Colts and Rams. Thanks so much for your time.
Yep.
Don't forget, everybody, Strictly Bias on Tuesday morning, first thing Tuesday, where we will wrap up the week in the NFL, and then we'll hear from Will again on Friday, where we will preview and predict every single NFL game. Thanks so much for your time, Will.
Yep, I appreciate it. Thank you. Go Colts.
Go Colts. Thanks to Will and Grant for joining me, and to you for listening. Please help us spread the word about the Central Indiana Sports Report by sharing this podcast with a Colts fan in your life, and let them know that we're here talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. Appreciate it. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.